Devi Saraswati Vyasati Tato Jayam Devaye Yasya Prayasa Bhadreshu Vidyam Bhagavati Sevaya Bhagavati Tamashloke Bhakti Bhagavati Naishiki. Reading from Śrīla Prabhupāda, Canto 10, Chapter 20, Text number 10. Āsann utpatha-gāminyaḥ kṣudra-nadyo anuśuṣyatīḥ puṁso yathā-svatantrasya deha-draviṇa-sampadaḥ āsann utpatha-gāminyaḥ kṣudra-nadyo anuśuṣyatīḥ puṁso yathā-svatantrasya deha-draviṇa-sampadaḥ āsann utpatha-gāminyaḥ kṣudra-nadyo anuśuṣyatīḥ puṁso yathā-svatantrasya deha-draviṇa-sampadaḥ āsann utpatha-gāminyaḥ kṣudra-nadyo deha-draviṇa-sampadaḥ āsann utpatha-gāminyaḥ kṣudra-nadyo anuśuṣyatīḥ puṁso yathā-svatantrasya deha-draviṇa-sampadaḥ āsann utpatha-gāminyaḥ kṣudra-nadyo anuśuṣyatīḥ puṁso yathā-svatantrasya deha-draviṇa-sampadaḥ āsann utpatha-gāminyaḥ kṣudra-nadyo anuśuṣyatīḥ puṁso yathā-svatantrasya deha-draviṇa-sampadaḥ. Matajis. āsann utpatha-gāminyaḥ kṣudra-nadyo anuśuṣyatīḥ puṁso yathā-svatantrasya deha-draviṇa-sampadaḥ. Āsann. They become utpatha-gāminyaḥ, straight from their courses. Kṣudra, insignificant. Nadyaḥ, the rivers. Anuśuṣyatīḥ, drying up. Puṁsaḥ, of a person. Yathā, as. Asvatantrasya, who is not independent. That is, who is under the control of his senses. Deha, the body. Draviṇa, physical property. Sampadaḥ, and riches. Translation and purport by the disciples of Śrīla Prabhupāda ki jai. With the advent of the rainy season, the insignificant streams which had become dry begin to swell and then straight from their proper courses, like the body, property and money of a man controlled by the urges of his senses. Please repeat. With the advent of the rainy season, the insignificant streams which had become dry began to swell and then strayed from their proper courses, like the body, property, and money of a man controlled by the urges of his senses. Śrīla Prabhupāda, Purport, Śrīla Prabhupāda comments, during the rainy season, many small ponds, lakes and rivulets become filled with water. Otherwise, the rest of the year they remain dry. Similarly, materialistic persons are dry, but sometimes when they are in a so-called opulent position, with a home or children or little bank balance, they appear to be flourishing, but immediately afterwards they become dry again, like the small rivulets and ponds. The poet Vidyāpati said that in the society of friends, family, children, wife and so on, there is certainly some pleasure, but that pleasure is compared to a drop of water in the desert. Everyone is hankering after happiness, just as in the desert everyone is hankering after water. If in the desert there is a drop of water, the water is there, of course, but the benefit from that drop of water is very insignificant. In our materialistic way of life, we are hankering after an ocean of happiness, but in the form of society, friends, and mundane love, we are getting no more than a drop of water. Our satisfaction is never achieved, as the small rivulets, lakes, and ponds are never filled with water in the dry season. Om Jnana-timirandhasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Tadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utpatha-gāminyaḥ Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajiva Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamsha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Rdhakant Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhasya Kripa Sindhuve Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Prasharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyata Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Krishna. Welcome for the Srimad Bhagavatam class. So seeking blessings of all the Vaishnavas. So this is a very nice chapter, the rainy season and autumn season in Vrindavan. And in this chapter, there are various nice analogies. So some example is taken from nature, and that is connected, and a great lesson, philosophical lesson is being taught to us. This wonderfully Shukdev Goswami has narrated this chapter. And in fact, today's purport that we are reading is directly by Śrīla Prabhupāda, which is in Krishna book and also in this book, Light of the Bhagavad. How many of you have read this book? Okay. So this is not such a well-known book, but a very nice book. In fact, this is the first book written by Śrīla Prabhupāda. Because 1961, he wrote this book. There was a conference in Japan which Śrīla Prabhupāda wanted to attend. It was Congress for Cultivating the Human Spirit. It was International Religious Conference, and that time Śrīla Prabhupāda was in, where was he? 1961, in Vrindavan, Radha Damodar temple. Śrīla Prabhupāda was in Radha Damodar temple, and when he got to know, because he was always looking for an opportunity to fulfill the orders of his spiritual master by preaching in the Western countries. So he saw this conference, he got to know about the conference, and his invitation was also accepted. But somehow, due to some problems, Śrīla Prabhupāda could not make it. He could not go there. But for the conference, Śrīla Prabhupāda chose this particular chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam because this has a lot of analogies from nature. And Śrīla Prabhupāda thought that generally philosophers are attracted by nature. So he thought that if you could take this chapter of Bhagavatam and present in the conference, that would attract the attention of all the philosophers. And his idea was that he wanted some art company to actually illustrate each of these verses. That means draw a nice picture based on these verses of Srimad Bhagavatam. Unfortunately, it could not happen. Śrīla Prabhupāda could not go there. But whatever he wrote, we are fortunate that we still have it. And later his disciples, they published this book. BBT published this book. And the Chinese artist was engaged in painting the nice pictures. So in this book you will see for every verse, there is explanation by Śrīla Prabhupāda and nice paintings, beautiful paintings. I also read it very long back. It's a good idea to read again. So this chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam describes the rainy season and the autumn season in Vrindavan. The chapter just before this, we saw killing of Pralamba and forest fires. It was summer season in Vrindavan. Now after summer season we have rainy season. And then after rainy season, autumn season. So this describes the rainy season and autumn season in detail. And the next chapter after this, the 21st chapter is Venu-Geet. The gopis glorify Krishna's flute. So before coming to that very beautiful and esoteric chapter, Venu-Geet, that is the description of Krishna's flute, Shukdev Goswami is presenting this chapter, in 20th chapter, the rainy season and autumn season. And through that, giving us very important lessons, which are very important before we can actually enter into the sweet pastimes of Krishna. So that is why it's such a unique combination. Bhagavatam, it talks about philosophy and pastimes. They both go hand in hand. Because if we just go to pastimes, we are not at that level and we may not understand. Therefore, we have philosophy and pastimes. Is the right mix of both of them. Even in Krishna book, if you see, that is why Prabhupada always talks of philosophy and also pastimes. Same as Srimad Bhagavatam. So in this verse, we are seeing the example is given that in rainy season, we all have this experience that everywhere we have a lot of water, right? So there are very small streams which are filled with water during rainy season. Have you seen that? Everywhere we have even small nalas and streams and rivulets, they're all filled with water. But after rainy season, they are dry again. Right? So only they are filled with water for 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, that's all. After that, for the entire year, it's almost dry. For 8 months, 9 months, it's dry. Similarly, the example is given that material happiness that we experience through our body, through property, through money, through our family, that is all like temporary, just like the small rivulets or small streams, they are filled with water only for temporary time during rainy season. Is this example clear? So small streams of, we have thin rivers or canals, there are some rivulets. So they are dry throughout the year, but filled with water only during rainy season. So this example has been quoted by Shukdev Goswami and is connecting it to material happiness. That material happiness is just like the temporary water coming in the streams. In the rainy season, after rainy season it's dry. Similarly, material happiness comes only for very short time, and after that again there is unhappiness. Again we are dry from inside. So suddenly, if, like Prabhupada giving example, that suddenly a materialistic man, he becomes very rich, or he has a nice family, or things are flourishing in his life, so he feels, oh, I am very happy. But very soon it all finishes and he is dry again. And Śrīla Prabhupāda quotes a very beautiful example, another quotation by Vidyāpati. I don't remember the exact Bengali. Anyone remembers that how this happiness in this world is like a drop of water in the desert? Ramani? Yeah. Can you continue? Just tell. Oh, no. That is different. There is another text that Maru, something like in a desert. Okay, in a desert, have you been to desert sometimes? Now also it's like almost like it's so hot. It feels like desert climate now. So how much water we drink in a day? Now it's so hot. Even if you drink 2-3 glasses, our thirst is not quenched, right? 5-6 liters of water we drink every day. And imagine if you go to a proper desert. Let's say now somebody goes to Rajasthan or Sahara desert. Imagine what must be the heat there. In Vrindavan it has almost touched 45 degree. Imagine you go to 52 degree. What will happen? How much water we need? I think at least 10 liters in a day, right? And there, if someone gives us 1 drop of water, just 1 drop, just like we take some medicines or something, 1 drop of water, will our thirst be quenched? Will our thirst be quenched? Pyas bujhega? No. We'll feel more hungry, more thirsty actually. Our body, if the body is completely dehydrated, hot sun, scorching sun, we at least need 1 bottle of water, if not more. But what if someone gives us 1 drop of water? Now, water is there, some enjoyment is there, but how much is that enjoyment? Very, very insignificant. Very little. Similarly, in this material world, whatever happiness we get from our senses, by sense enjoyment, that is just like a drop of water in the desert. One can argue, yes, I am feeling happy, but that happiness is very, very insignificant. That cannot satisfy the soul, that cannot satisfy the heart, and it's very temporary, for very short time. Prabhupada says, in our materialistic way of life, we are hankering for an ocean of happiness. The soul, it wants unlimited happiness. Anandamudi vardhanam. So, if I want ocean of happiness, what is 1 drop compared to that? But in the form of society, friends and mundane love, we are getting no more than a drop of water. Our satisfaction is never achieved. Our satisfaction is sometimes achieved. No, Prabhupada is saying our satisfaction is never achieved. As the small rivulets, lakes and ponds are never filled with water in the dry season. Never you will see the small ponds or small rivulets, they have water in the summer season. Only big rivers like Ganga, Yamuna, so only such rivers they have water in the summer season. Otherwise, small rivers there is no water. Similarly, as long as we seek happiness which is disconnected from Krishna in this material world, it is just like small rivulets be filled with water for some time, after that it will remain dry. Or another example that Śrīla Prabhupāda gives, just like a drop of water in desert, where a person is feeling very thirsty, but he is just getting a drop of water, which can never quench his thirst. So that is the situation in material world. So from this verse we are learning the importance, or learning that how insignificant is material happiness, and how important for us devotees is to understand that we can never be happy in this material world. So we should never seek for pleasure in this material world. That's a very important lesson for all of us. Because as long as we seek pleasure in this material world, we actually can never become pure devotees, or we can never attain Krishna. We will be devotees, but that kind of devotees, they are called, what is the term for them? Sakama bhakta, or devotees but having material desires. Not pure devotees. Yes, devotees, but mixed devotees. Especially, of course, many of you are pure devotees here, but especially for me, still in the situation of a Sakam Bhakta. That means, yes, practicing Krishna consciousness, chanting Hare Krishna, but still there are a lot of material desires in my heart. Desire for dhanam, janam, sundarim, everything is there. Want wealth, want beautiful women, want fame. So all these desires are there in my heart. And as long as these desires are there in my heart, pure devotional service will not arise in my heart. There's a nice verse in Chaitanya Charitamrita, actually written by Rupa Goswami, that as long as we have desires for bhukti and mukti, as long as we have desires for bhukti and mukti, till that time, pure bhakti will not arise in our heart. Bhukti mukti sprihat yavat pishachi ridi vartate tavat bhakti sukhasyatīḥ katham abhyudayo bhavit. The material desire to enjoy the material world and the desire to become liberated from the material bondage are considered to be two witches, and they haunt one like host. As long as these witches remain within the heart, how can one feel transcendental bliss? As long as these two witches remain in the heart, there is no possibility of enjoying the transcendental bliss of devotional service. So in order to experience the bliss of devotional service, our heart has to be freed from these two witches. Witches, Rakshasi, Pishachini. What are two Pishachini? Bhukti and Mukti. In fact, very interesting pastime that Rupa Goswami, when he was writing this verse, this part of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, and he gave this to Ballavacharya for editing. Ballavacharya, we all know, very famous Vaishnavacharya. And Ballavacharya, this is out of humility. Of course, Rupa Goswami is the eternal associate of Lord Chaitanya, Rupa Manjari. He doesn't have any mistake. But by nature, he was so humble that he gave his book to Ballavacharya, that please edit. And Ballavacharya, he thought that this verse is not correct. That how can you compare bhukti and mukti to pishachini? Okay, bhukti is still fine, material desires is not good. But desire for mukti, that's a very high desire. Why you are telling that desire for mukti is also like pishachini? Please make some correction. So he told Rupa Goswami, and Rupa Goswami in a humble way accepted, okay. But Jiva Goswami was there. Now it's the duty of disciple to always, protect the prestige of the spiritual master, or to defend him. So Jiva Goswami didn't feel happy. So he went, after when Ballavacharya left, so he followed Ballavacharya and told, my dear sir, I have to say something to you. What is that? Now whatever my Guru has written, that is correct. There is no mistake in that. So Jiva Goswami and Ballavacharya had some discussion for some long time, and Jiva Goswami finally convinced Ballavacharya that whatever Rupa Goswami had written is correct. And then Ballavacharya came back and paid obeisance and said, Rupa Goswami, when your disciple is so exalted, so qualified, why you have to give me to edit your work? No need. Whatever you have written is perfect. But Rupa Goswami, was he happy with the attitude of Jiva Goswami? No. Internally he was happy, but externally he wanted to teach a lesson. He said, no, this is a sign of pride. Then he chastised Jiva Goswami that how dare you, Ballavacharya is senior Vaishnava. How could you argue with him? How could you correct him? And he said, Jiva Goswami, you go out from here. You have no qualification to stay in Vrindavan. So, anyway, I just connected this past time. So this is an important lesson that in order to stay in Vrindavan, we cannot have pride. So Jiva Goswami, twice this pastime happened. Rupa Goswami banished him from Vrindavan 2 times. One was this occasion when he tried to correct Ballavacharya, and another occasion he entered into debate with another mundane scholar. So anyway, the point is that as long as we have these 2 pisachini, 2 witches in our heart, desire to enjoy in this material world and also desire to get liberated from this world, bhukti and mukti, both the desires are not appropriate. A devotee should not have these 2 desires. Therefore, Bhaktivinoda Thakur writes in that song, Bhukti mukti spriha vihina ye bhakta labhaite taka sanga anurag manasa deha geha jo kishumor arpilu tuapadi nanda kishur. So he says that I want to associate with those devotees who do not have these 2 desires in their heart. Desires for bhukti and desires for mukti. And 99.99% of the people, they have one of these 2. More than 90% they have desire for bhukti, majority. And there are some who are jnanis, they have desire for mukti, liberation. But we should not associate with either of them. Association of materialistic people is also not good. And also, mumukshus or those who desire liberation, even pure devotees don't want to associate with them. So both of these desires, bhukti and mukti, are not favorable for pure bhakti. So pure bhakti will arise in our heart only when the heart is freed from these 2 desires, bhukti and mukti. So that means when we are practicing devotional service, are we practicing bhakti or not? We are chanting bhakti, shravanam, kirtanam, vishnu, smaranam, pada sevanam, arshanam, vandanam, dasyam, sakhyam, atma nivedanam. So are we doing bhakti or we are not doing bhakti? We are doing bhakti, no doubt, but our bhakti is contaminated by the 3 modes. In 3rd canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, there is discussion that Kapil Dev is explaining Mother Devhuti that actually bhakti can also be classified in 4 categories. Bhakti in mode of ignorance, bhakti in mode of passion, bhakti in mode of goodness, and pure devotional service. So some of you may have read it, but some of you may not have. How many of you know this section of Srimad Bhagavatam? Of course, some of the devotees must be knowing. So many of you don't know this section. So I thought somehow let us discuss a little bit this portion of Srimad Bhagavatam, where Kapil Dev is explaining to his mother that how there are different gradations of bhakti. Actually, bhakti is always pure, but the practitioner is not pure. Like we, the bhaktas, we are contaminated by the 3 modes. So therefore, when a person influenced by mode of ignorance does bhakti, his bhakti is said to be in mode of ignorance. So let us read this portion of Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd canto, 29th chapter. Those who have phones probably you can take out also. 3:29:7. 3rd canto, 29th verse, 29th chapter, text number 7. Shri Bhagavan Vacha bhakti-yoga bahuvidho marger bhamini bhavyate swabhava guna margena puṁsan bhavo vibhidyate. Lord Kapila, the personality of Godhead, replied, O noble lady, there are multifarious paths of devotional service in terms of the different qualities of the executor. So now he'll explain the lowest category, that is bhakti in the mode of ignorance. So what he says, abhisandhaya yohimsan dambham matsaryam evava samrambhi bhinna drikbhavam mai kuryatsa tamasa. Devotional service executed by a person who is envious, proud, violent and angry, and who is a separatist is considered to be in the mode of darkness. That means, if a person is practicing devotional service, but if he is envious, proud, violent, angry, and a separatist, then his bhakti is considered to be in the mode of ignorance. Tamogun. Purport. It has been already explained in the Srimad Bhagavatam, 1st canto, 2nd chapter, that the highest, most glorious religion is the attainment of causeless, unmotivated devotional service. Which verse is this? Savai puṁsa paro dharmo yato bhakti rahituki apratihata yato bhakti adhokshaje. In pure devotional service, the only motive should be to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So what is pure devotional service? When the only motive is to please Krishna. That is not actually a motive. That is the pure condition of the living entity. In the conditioned stage, when one engages in devotional service, he should follow the instruction of the bona fide spiritual master in full surrender. The spiritual master is the manifested representation of the Supreme Lord, because he receives and presents the instructions of the Lord as they are by disciplic succession. So Śrīla Prabhupāda is saying that if one is acting under the direction of the spiritual master with a motive to satisfy Krishna, then that is called pure devotional service. But if one has a motive for personal sense gratification, so once again, but if one has a motive for personal sense gratification, his devotional service is manifested differently. Still devotional service, but not pure devotional service. Is devotional service contaminated by mode of ignorance and passion. Such a man may be violent, proud, envious and angry, and his interests are separate from the Lord's. That means he is doing bhakti, no doubt. He is doing Shravanam, Kirtanam. He may be chanting his rounds, wearing tilak, devotional dress. But still, if he is proud, if he is envious, he is vengeful, and he thinks that I am the best devotee. Such devotees, they always think that I am the best devotee. So as soon as we have that mentality that I am the best devotee or I am a better devotee, that means I am not a pure devotee. I am contaminated by mode of passion and ignorance. And Śrīla Prabhupāda is saying in this purport that as per Śrīla Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, we should not associate with such a Vaishnava. We should offer respects, but not associate with such a Vaishnava. Same thing in Nectar of Instruction also, that such Vaishnavas we should respect, no doubt, but we should not associate closely with such Vaishnavas. So this is mode of ignorance. Second, higher than this is Vishayana yasha eshwaram evava archadav archayedyo mam pritak bhava sarajasa. The worship of deities in the temple by a separatist with a motive for material enjoyment, fame and opulence is devotion in the mode of passion. So I think at least we all have this, at least I have this tendency, that we worship Krishna, but what desire is there in the heart? I want material enjoyment, fame and opulence. So such a devotee is mixed devotee, Mishrita Bhakta, not a pure devotee. Because he has a separatist mentality, he has his own agenda. Our only agenda should be to fulfill Lord's desire or desire of our spiritual master. But as soon as we have our own hidden agenda, we want our own name, fame, or I want a lot of material opulence in exchange of my devotional service, then that is bhakti in the mode of passion. When the so-called devotee desires material enjoyment without reference to the interest of the Supreme Lord, or he wants to become famous or opulent by utilizing the mercy or grace of the Supreme Lord, he is in the mode of passion. So devotee in the mode of ignorance, he is envious, violent, proud, Devotee in the mode of passion, he wants his own material enjoyment, he wants name, fame, opulence in exchange for his devotional service. Sometimes we hear, no, this comes in our, what have I got? I have, sometimes devotees say, I have served for 20 years, 30 years. What have I got? We are not doing bhakti to get something material. Of course, Krishna gives whatever is needed for a devotee. He doesn't make a devotee starve. But if our intention of doing bhakti is to get something in return, then that is not pure devotional service. Then we can easily get, Krishna will very easily give us material opulence. There is no problem. But that is not pure devotional service. And then, higher than this is bhakti in the mode of goodness. What is that? Karma nirharam uddishya prasmin vatad arpanam yajed yashtavyam itiva pritak bhava sa sattvika. When a devotee worships the Supreme Personality of Godhead and offers the results of his activities in order to free himself from the inebrities of fruitive activities, his devotion is in the mode of goodness. So what is devotional service in mode of goodness? He wants to get freed of this material world. Mukti. So first two categories, he had desire for bhukti, to enjoy in this world. But in mode of goodness, one is intelligent. He knows that there is no enjoyment in this world, but he wants mukti. But that is also not pure bhakti. This is bhakti in the mode of goodness. When he is doing bhakti, but he is thinking, oh, this world is very bad, I somehow have to escape this. I don't want this birth, death, old age, disease. That is much better than bhakti in mode of ignorance and passion, but still that is not pure devotional service. What is pure devotional service? Now he is saying, Mad guna shruti matrena mai sarva guhashe manogati ravichinna yathā gangāmimāṁ bhuso lakshanam bhakti-yogasya nirgunasya yudharitam ahituki avyavahita ya bhakti purushottame. So what is pure devotional service? This is then a pure devotee, his mind is naturally attracted to Krishna, to hearing his name, fame, qualities, etc. Just like Ganges flows naturally towards the ocean. I'm sure some of you must have been to Rishikesh, Haridwar. Have you seen how Mother Ganga flows there? With great speed, with great eagerness, Mother Ganga is flowing. Why? Because she wants to go to the ocean. It's flowing from Himalayas to the ocean, almost 2,000 kilometers. There's so many obstructions, obstacles on the way, but can anything stop the flow of Mother Ganga? No. Nothing can stop the flow of Mother Ganga. She flows continuously from Himalayas till the ocean. Similarly, the quality of a pure devotee is that devotional service which is freed from three modes, nirguna bhakti, is that his mind always is attracted towards the lotus feet of Krishna for hearing his name, form, qualities, etc. Just like Mother Ganga flows towards the ocean, uninterrupted by any material condition and without any material desires. Ahituki apratiyata. No material desires. No desires even for bhukti or mukti. And avyavahita. It's continuous. It can never be obstructed by any material circumstances. Just like few days back we had Narsingha Chaturdasi. We have the great example of Prahlad Maharaj. What obstacles came in his life? But it could never stop his devotional service. And then it is said, Salokya Sarshri Samipya Sarupya Ekatvam Apiyuta Diyamanam na grinanti Vina mat sevanam jana. Another famous verse. A pure devotee does not accept any kind of liberation. Salokya, Sashti, Samipya, Sarupya, Ekatva, even though they are offered by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Nectar of Devotion, we'll find this verse. There are 5 kinds of liberation, right? Sarupya, getting the same form of the Lord. Salokya, staying in the same planet as the Lord. Sashti, getting the same opulence as the Lord, etc. But A pure devotee does not even desire various kinds of liberation. So this is a very, very high stage. Of course, we can simply aspire for it, we can pray for it, and we can associate with those pure devotees who are in this stage. But right now, unfortunately, our heart is still filled with desires for bhukti and mukti. Therefore, we should pray earnestly, like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has taught us, na dhanam na janam na sundarim kavitam va jagadisha kame mama janmani janmani ishvare bhavatat bhaktir ahetuketve. So right now my heart may be filled with all material desires, desires for wealth, women, fame, etc. But I pray to you, Krishna, that please remove all the desires from my heart. At least this much we can pray. That yes, my heart is filled with all dirty desires, but I am praying to you, Krishna, please remove all these desires. I only want pure devotional service at your lotus feet. So you pray for this pure devotional service, and as Śrīla Prabhupāda says, tatra laulyam api ekamulyam, that if you have that intense greed for attaining pure devotional service, and by associating with pure devotees, by taking to this process of bhakti-yoga very seriously, and if you have that pure aspiration, that pure desire, and then we do this same thing, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, then we'll get pure devotional service. But if you have the contaminated desire, if we do this, then we may get material opulences. Then we'll not get the actual desired result of devotional service. So one may be becoming very opulent. One may get a big house in Vrindavan, big car in Vrindavan, and you think, oh, I am advancing in bhakti very much. No, that is not advancement in bhakti. That means Krishna is saying, okay, he has material desires, okay. Whatever he is asking, let me give that. Because for Krishna, fulfilling material desires is very easy, he gives easily. But pure devotional service, he doesn't give easily. Why? Because he comes under the control of a pure devotee. Therefore, it is an act of devotion that sudurlabha, it's very rare. Why? Because Sri Krishna Akarshani, that pure devotional service, can attract Krishna himself. Therefore, Krishna doesn't give it so easily. But bhukti and mukti, very easily we can get. Therefore, let us be introspective and be cautious of what we desire. When we come in front of Krishna, Balaram, Radha, Shyam Sundar, Gaur Nitai, if you have material desires, then very easily they'll get fulfilled. But that is not the real purpose. We should only aspire for pure devotional service without any tinge of material desires. At least we can pray for that. Hare Krishna. Any questions or comments? Okay, yes.
So I got the verse you were looking for. Tātala Sahitaka Binduvari Sama.
Yes, Tātala Sahitaka
Binduvari Sama.
Binduvari Sama. Yes.
Samita Ramani Sama.
Yeah, Sukha Mita Ramani Sama Tātaka.
After that it's totally.
Yeah, before that, once again, can you repeat?
Tātala Sahitaka Binduvari Sama.
Yes, so Bindu means like drop. So in a desert, so this is like a drop. What? Sutta Mita. That means with friends, with family, Ramani, whatever happiness we are getting in this world, so-called love in this world, that is like drop of water. Thank you.
Regarding the bhakti basically coming circulation.
Yes.
I was always concerned and contemplating whether it is contradicting Prabhupada saying going back to Bhagavad-Gita.
Yes.
When I read the purport, it got clarified. Prabhupada, when he speaks about
I think it's not on. Okay, it's on. Okay, keep it a little close. Yeah.
when Prabhupada is speaking about mukti, he is referring specifically to the jnanis who want to merge into Brahman. So, wanting to going back home, back to God, as Prabhupada recommends, is a perfectly fine, certified, wonderful desire that one can should have.
Yes.
That's just what I like.
Good point. But the point here is this verse of Bhagavatam says that a pure devotee is not demanding even to go back to Godhead. So that's a very high stage. Of course, as you said, rightly said, for our stage, desire to go back to Godhead is a very pure desire. But we are talking of even more elevated devotees. For them, it doesn't matter wherever they are. Narayana parasarve na kutasya bhivyati swarga apavarga narkeshu apitulyata darshana. For them it doesn't matter. Like Prahlad Maharaj, he is in Sutal planet. He is preaching there. So for that level of devotee it is. Thank you for that clarification. Yes, even I had this doubt earlier that means even desire to go back to whom, back to God, it is not a pure desire. It is pure, but even purer than that is desire that Krishna, wherever you keep me, I am ready to serve you. Yes, thank you. Any other questions or comments? Yes, Mataji. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Okay.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes, Hare Krishna.
As you mentioned the example of Srila Vallabhacharya and Srila Goswami, now if we compare it with the present age, we are not intelligent enough to identify whether the person who is sitting in front of us is actually a pure devotee or not. And in case we keep on accepting the viewpoint of everyone, so how would we be able to preach what is right and what is wrong?
Yeah, for preaching we have to discriminate what is right and what is wrong. Yes, we have to do that. How is that connected with the example of Rupa Goswami and?
Srila Rupa Goswami happily accepted what Srila Vallabhacharya has said. And as you said, that he told Srila Goswami also that not to, confront with him and all. So in case if somebody is sitting in front of us and whatever philosophy he or is saying, so how can we accept it? We are not
Okay, good question. That why Rupa Goswami was not happy that Jiva Goswami confronted Vallabhacharya. First of all, Vallabhacharya was himself a great devotee. So here we're talking about dealing between devotees. So if a non-devotee or a Mayavadi is speaking something, of course we are supposed to fight with him. If we don't debate with him, then we are doing aparadha. But among devotees you have to be careful. The lesson here is that at least among devotees or especially among seniors, we should be very careful. Even if they say something and we feel it's not good, there's a particular etiquette in which we approach that. So that was the lesson that Rupa Goswami was trying to teach to this pastime. That while dealing with senior devotees, we have to be very, very careful. Thank you.
Thank you for the wonderful lecture. Actually, my question is that one of the most difficult, one of the most difficult desires to give up when practicing sadhana is the desire for getting appreciated for your service. So, how to deal with that desire?
Yes, so this is basic human psychology that we want some appreciation. So of course we cannot imitate that highest stage that I want no appreciation. So at this stage we need some appreciation and it's always given. Our superiors always give some appreciation, they appreciate us. At the same time we should not have so much hankering for appreciation. That we should convince ourselves that I am not doing devotional service just to get appreciation. In the initial stage that's fine. But as we are growing and as we get matured, we should be ready to do our services even if we are not appreciated. Ultimately, we have to come to the stage where we continue to do our service without any appreciation at all. So gradually we have to grow. And it doesn't happen in one day. So it's not that, okay, from today onwards I'll have no material desires in my heart. It doesn't work like that. We have to try for it. As we are doing our sadhana bhakti, as we keep on hearing and chanting, gradually the material desires will reduce and will advance in bhakti. Okay? Because the conditionings are so strong, it's not easy to get rid of them in one day. Yes.
Thank you so much for so nice.
Hare Krishna.
You raised a very nice question. That are we doing bhakti? So how to understand that we are doing bhakti? Because if you refer third time to 29 chapter 7, That is three modes denominating the process of bhakti. So bhakti becomes of these three kinds. But what is bhakti actually? And how it starts? Because as I understand, in NOD it is given that Sarvapati Vinay Uttam Tattva and the definition of Uttam Bhakti is also given that Anya
Yes, yes, yes.
Right. So how to understand that with all these desires we are doing actually bhakti? How to ascertain also?
That's very nice point. So as you rightly said that bhakti, definition of bhakti is, pure bhakti is anya abhilashita shunyam jnana karmadina vritam anukulyena krishnanu shilanam bhaktiruttama. When we are freed from all material desires, anya abhilashita shunyam. But when we begin, we are not at that stage, but we begin with the aspiration to reach that stage. Then that is also, we can say, in the process of pure bhakti. You are in the path of pure devotional service. Right now we may be contaminated by ignorance, passion, etc. Like Prabhupada gives the example of green mango and ripe mango. Very nice example. So mango is mango, but initially the mango is green. How does the green mango taste like? Bitter. No, not sour, bitter. But the same mango, if it's connected with a tree, after some time the mango becomes ripened, yellow, very tasty mango. Similarly, right now, when we start bhakti, we may be like that green mango. But as we keep on practicing Krishna consciousness, then we'll come to that ripened mango stage. So bhakti is that same Navada bhakti. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Padasivanam. But right now our heart is contaminated. So therefore we say bhakti is contaminated with three modes. But as the heart becomes purified, then we come to the stage of pure devotion service. That is my understanding. Is it okay? Yes, so that's why Mishrita Bhakti and Shuddha Bhakti. So right now we can say that I am a Mishrita Bhakta, I am not a Shuddha Bhakta now. I am the path of attaining Shuddha Bhakti. So I am a green mango now, but I am connected to the tree hoping that after a few days, after a few years or after some time, I will become a ripe mango. I am still mango, I am still connected to mango tree, I am still chanting, I am still following the path of bhakti, but I am not yet ripened mango. Okay, thank you very much. Śrīla Prabhupāda ki jai, Śrīmad Bhagavatam ki jai.